my body had always been mine, and then suddenly it became everyone else's. And I actually got told to lose weight by my fashion agency. It was like a switch went off in my head, and suddenly my body became a maths equation. Hi, I'm Emily English, also known as Em the Nutritionist. I'm a content creator, author, and recipe developer, and I'm here with Women's Health, and this is My Body, My Story. So today in my body, I'm probably feeling the strongest and most confident that I felt in a while. I have so much trust in myself, exactly who I am, and it's taken work, but just being so fully embraced in who I am as my own human being is such a beautiful place to be. So when I was growing up, we never really focused on our bodies. We were just very active. We loved food. I used to run competitively when I was younger. In fact, my Hotmail address was emmyspeed@hotmail.co.uk. I absolutely loved it. But movement and food was never tied in with what my body looked like or to shape my body a certain way. No one ever really spoke about their bodies in a kind of physical way. I was very lucky that both my mum and my dad never really did any sort of diets or anything. And we were all very, very active. We moved because it made us feel good, or we were competing, going to after school clubs. And food and nutrition to me was just wholesome. We sat around the dinner table, we ate because we wanted to, because we were hungry. And I definitely had a very safe and friendly approach to my body when I was growing up. My granny was actually a chef, and my first job was in her kitchen. I used to prep all of the vegetables for the Sunday roast, and I saw the level of love and excitement that she had over food, and it was definitely very infectious. If I ever got invited over hers for dinner, it was probably the highlight of my year. And I think that really made me fall in love with restaurants and hospitality and hosting. And food for me has always been that expression of love and giving. And it's something that I think has definitely shaped the way that I cook for people and I write recipes today. I got scouted to become a model. It was such a strange time because I suddenly had this whole amount of pressure put on what my body looked like for other people. And before, my body had always been mine. And then suddenly it became everyone else's. And I actually got told to lose weight by my fashion agency. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because I'd never really experienced any sort of diet culture when I was growing up. It was like a switch went off in my head, and suddenly my body became a maths equation. And when I turned to the internet and I looked for information of how to lose weight, I was surrounded by these fads, these detox diets, everything led with restriction. And everything that I knew about food from a place of love and nourishment suddenly became this calories, and you can't eat this, and this is bad for you. And I no longer was able to eat with my family. I no longer sat at that dining table that was that place of connection for us all to catch up over the day. And it was something at the time that I don't think I was prepared for. And I think that's probably why I responded to in that way. I think it's so important when we're thinking about our bodies and safeguarding our relationships with food, we have to almost be able to kind of be a little bit more prepared for what is out there. It was such an intense year of my life that took away so much, but in a weird way, it kind of put me exactly where I'm meant to be right now. Going through that whole relationship with food is really the reason why I ended up studying nutrition, because at the time, I had access to no information. I had no education, even though I'd done the International Baccalaureate, I'd done high-level chemistry and biology. I was very book smart as a scientist, but when it came to what I ate or how I fueled my body, I had no clue. So after those few years in the fashion industry, I actually ended up going to university and I studied nutrition, and I did my BSc at King's with some of the most incredible professors in the nutrition field in the world. And I was so lucky, incredibly inspired, and it ended up being this really lovely natural progression into studying something that had really caused me so much harm and so much damage. And I wanted to make sure that that version of me and all the versions of me, and I know that I'm not alone with what I went through with my body and my relationship with food. And I want to be someone who helps and supports those people and make sure that if it was me and I went through it again, I would have me now to be able to support them. I feel like nutrition should be normal. It shouldn't be this separate thing that we do from time to time to lose weight or to go on a diet or because we feel like we need to change. Nutrition and our relationships with our bodies should be this one gorgeous, harmonious thing, and nutrition adds to our lives. It provides joy, it provides love. It's what we do when we celebrate birthdays and sit down at Christmas. It's everything, and I don't want everything that people think nutrition is when it comes to our bodies to deter them from actually embracing something that is so amazing for us. The moment that my eating disorder changed and went 360 to the moment I realized I needed to sort this out was actually over a cheese roll. And my mum had made everyone a sandwich, and it was a brown cheese roll sandwich with mayonnaise, fresh tomatoes, lettuce. And normally she didn't force something on me, but she put this sandwich in front of all of us and she said, I've made a sandwich for everyone, we're gonna sit down and eat it. And I broke down, and I felt so embarrassed having this breakdown over a sandwich. And I realized this is not how I want to live my life. And that defining moment made me seek therapy. I saw the most incredible CBT therapist, and ever since then, my life has only got better. I think there's a big misconception with eating disorders that you see a therapist and you just get over it. And it still takes practice and care and recognizing certain triggers or stressful situations. I think it's a really fine line when you're thinking about nutritional choices, activity monitoring, and making sure that you're not teetering on that obsessive controlling side. And I think it's really important to make sure that you keep yourself in check and realize if something is taking away versus adding. So things that really make you feel good, that you know you should do for your health and your body, because in the long run, it's good for you. It's distinguishing what is that side of you that's trying to control unnecessarily, and what's the side of you that, do you know what, we'd all love to snooze an extra 15 minutes, but we know getting up and going for a walk is going to make us feel amazing by the time we get to work, and it's going to feed into our mental health, our gut health, and that whole kind of 360 approach to nutrition. And mindset is everything, and the language that we use when we're thinking about tracking our steps, tracking our sleep, is what is so important to keep in check. I recently got married in September, and it's one of these things that I think as you get older, I honestly just feel so much more comfortable with myself and my body and who I am. I did get a few treatments. I got a little bit of Botox here and there, of course, because I want to feel my best on my wedding day, but I did it for me and I didn't do it for anyone else. And that's where a lot of my decisions around myself and my body come from now. It's for me. Are you really loving yourself? Is what you're doing making you feel good? And I think everything that I did made me feel my best on my big day. Now, as someone with a lot of influence, I definitely make sure that I hold myself responsible for every single thing that I post. And I've become more aware of this the bigger I get. And what I always try and use as a point of reference is little me. So I go back, and if I want to post something, I think, how will this impact little M? And I'm always very aware that not all of us are going through the same confidence. Some of us may be going through quite hard patches, and then some of us love inspiration and we want to be inspired and we find certain things motivating. So I think it's a balance between sharing and posting, obviously, what I love and I feel is valuable and going to help people, but also making sure that I'm not doing it in a way that is making people feel guilty or bad about themselves. And I think as a creator with a lot of following, I have a responsibility for that, and I hold that responsibility, and I hold that responsibility for that younger version of myself. I think with my content, I always try and have an element of tongue in cheek. So even when I do routines, I do something funny like shove my face in an ice bucket in the morning. And of course, that is not what I do every single morning, but it's something that if you do it, it actually does activate something called the mammalian dive reflex, which will waken you up like a cup of coffee. And health and nutrition can sometimes come with so much pressure, and it's why my recipes are relatable. They're normal. My what I eat in a day are much more recipe inspiration that I then just share the recipes afterwards, rather than eat like me, look like me. And that is a space that I think you have to be really, really careful with. And we will never all look the same. No one's nutrition and diets will ever look the same, and they don't need to look the same. And this is the thing, you celebrate your uniqueness, celebrate your way of eating, celebrate what you crave and where you want to travel and how you want to dress. All these things are part of you and your self-expression. And I truly believe that nutrition should be a part of your self-expression. I only really share what I would genuinely message one of my friends. So if I'd gone to an amazing restaurant and I turned around to my friend and text and being like, you have to try this place, it's amazing. My community and my followers are my friends. So it's quite easy for me to be able to share the things that I know that they would find valuable, find interesting, or benefit from. And there's just certain things that would go on in my life that's like, would I message this to my best friend? No. So why would I feel the need to share it? So it's that good balance of not oversharing, having things that are mine. But if I truly think that someone's going to find something interesting or something is relatable or they want to buy that cream that I genuinely think is life-changing, then I'm going to put it out there. Whenever I speak about making sure that you're keeping your relationship with certain health activities in check, mine ended up becoming the gym. And I started to train to change my body in a way that became a little bit obsessive. And it got to the point where I'd go on holiday and I would be so obsessed with trying to find like protein yogurts or protein bars. And it's funny because that is that OCD habit that started to sneak back in again. And I ended up cancelling my gym membership and really trying to focus movement on what makes me feel my best. And I discovered Mega Reformer Pilates and it changed my life. I've never been stronger, fitter, healthier, happier. I think I love Pilates so much because it's 50 minutes where I don't think about anything else. I don't touch my phone. I don't try and calculate how many weights I'm trying to add on to this and look in the mirror and try and like take a glute selfie or something. It's just me, that reformer bed, and my own headspace. And there's something so beautiful. The Japanese, they call it ikigai, when you find a flow or a state of flow in something where you lose sense of where you are and what time it is. And finding movement that gives you that peace, I think is one of the most incredible things you can do for you. And I truly train for my mind and how my body feels and how strong and amazing it changes me. I mean, I'm never going to be Kim Kardashian. I'm always just going to be Emily English. And that's something that I just want to celebrate a little bit more. And I just love to walk now. I find walking peaceful. I find it a beautiful place to come up with my recipes, clear my mind. I walk with friends. I walk with my husband. I walk with a podcast. And that for me is movement that serves me and really just serves my body. I feel with walking, especially when you find a route that's quite repetitive, that you know off by heart and you don't think about, is just one of those things that opens up your mind and enables you to really have a great conversation with yourself. And I guarantee you've got a problem or you need to get to the bottom of something or come up with a solution. Go for a walk with a friend or by yourself or write on your notes and you will come up with a solution. There's something about the easy, methodical, step-by-step, knowing the direction you're going in that just activates something in your brain that I don't know what it is, but it will put the world to right. I feel like there's this disjointed relationship with what is nutrition. And if I ever go to a dinner party and people find out that I'm a nutritionist, they are instantly embarrassed, don't want to tell me what they've eaten the day before and think that I'm judging them. And this is where I truly think that it's all kind of going wrong. We need to make sure that people feel comfortable with their own health again and with their own bodies. I've always been small. That is just who I am. And that's what my genetics are like. If you go through my mom and my grandma, we all look exactly the same. And my best friend looks totally different to me. But we're both healthy. We both can go on a run if we wanted to. We both are happy to go to whatever restaurant and order the foods that we want to eat. And I always say, if your body doesn't stop you doing anything that you want to do, you are healthy. And the moment that your body stops you from doing what makes you happy or what brings you joy or what makes you feel healthy, then that's the point where you actually need to kind of reflect and think, oh, maybe there's something that I should be changing. The one piece of nutritional information that I just want people to stop believing is that the oat milk in your coffee is the reason for all of your health issues. We have to take a bigger picture when it comes to our health. There is not a singular food, there's not a singular thing that is the reason why people are getting a certain health issue or getting a certain metabolic disorder. It's the accumulation. And when you think about your behavioral patterns over the context of a week, a month, a year, that's where things really come into play. So add the splash of oat milk in your coffee if you want it. someone had £20 to spend on the week for healthy food, I would definitely say try and find a recipe that you can utilize in multiple different ways. A good spag bowl or chili con carne, one day you can have it with rice, one day you can have it on a baked sweet potato, you can use up the random packet of whatever you have in the back of your cupboard for your extra grain, stick an extra tin of legumes or chickpeas or something in there to bulk it out. It's all about making things that you can bulk out with the inexpensive ingredients. So if you're thinking about the more expensive ingredients that are like proteins, so beef mince for example, if you then add mushrooms, celery, even frozen veg is a really brilliant economical way. Get it in there, mix it up. You can use different cheese for different nights, and it's also freezer friendly. So when you make things, you build out your freezer repertoire, which means that your £20 then feeds into the next week, so then you can defrost something and have a meal then. When it comes to shopping, I'm definitely more of a wing it shopper, but I think that just comes from my job. I get recipe inspiration very sporadically. So I'd probably be on a bus and a little light bulb will go off in my head and I think, I found the recipe that I want to make. And then I'll end up running to Marks and Spencer's, grabbing the ingredients, going home, making it, filming it. So it's definitely a little bit more chaotic. In an ideal world, I would love to just plan my week. But I think because I'm always coming up with new ideas, even though I do have my go-tos, like my chicken pitters, tuna pitters, preppable protein mixes, anything like that. I definitely have a good store staple that you'll always find in my fridge, but it does tend to be a little bit more chaotic. In 5 years' time, my biggest goal is impacting as many people as possible. I would absolutely love to do something that would truly make a difference, especially in schools. And I think that's something that's really close to my heart because what I went through, I feel could have been prevented if I just had better education around nutrition, but also making sure that nutrition was associated with cooking and food because we don't eat nutrients, we eat food. So how can we make sure that all of these amazing young girls realize that you can have the two? You can eat your bowl of pasta, but also be getting in all of your amazing omegas to support your brain health for your studies. That is something that I would absolutely love to make a difference, basically like the female version of Jamie Oliver. Thanks for watching my episode of My Body, My Story.